Welcome to a CMIA chat, and our guest tonight is Major Casey Anderson from the Canadian Intelligence Corps, and we're talking about the cyclists of the First World War.
Our history as an Army Intelligence Corps in the Canadian Army is extremely relevant to us today. I thought it'd be useful to sort of focus in on a single individual versus just how things were administered. Although it's the military, so there is actually an administrative component to this story. I'm very fortunate to have in my personal collection. You can see here, and I'll send you a photo of this. That's much better than this, but this is a medal, and it's the Imperial Russian Order of St. George, third class, and it was awarded to a fellow named Private Arthur William Dunham. And that medal, which I'll actually hold up again, so this medal is extremely significant to the history of our Corps because it's actually the first gallantry award. And I'm, again, very fortunate to have this in my collection, but the first gallantry award ever to a member of one of our predecessor corps or services. And I know that because it's engraved on the rim with Private Dunham's name and regimental number and all that stuff. And we're able to research this stuff pretty easily because much of the records of what I'm describing to you have been digitized. So I will give you a really brief biography of Private Dunham, and I will explain the reason he was awarded this award. So he finished the war as a corporal. So Corporal Arthur Dunham, born in Cambridge, England, was a 27-year-old electrician who attested for service with the 1st Canadian Divisional Cyclist Company at Valcartier on the 10th of September 1914, so very early after war was declared. He arrived in France in February 1915, and Private Dunham fought with the 1st Divisional Cyclist Company at what would become their very first battle, which was known today as the Second Battle of Ypres. And he was awarded the Imperial Russian St. George Medal, third class, for his gallantry on the 25th of April, 1915, specifically during the action at Saint Julien. So that's the action which occurred. It was a series of attacks and counterattacks, both by us and the Germans, in the aftermath of that very famous gas attack, which had occurred 2 days previously. Later on in the Second Battle of Ypres, Private Dunham would actually go on to be wounded in the right arm by gunshot on the 11th of May, 1915. And he would convalesce in the UK, where he spent the remainder of the war working predominantly at the Canadian Records Office in London, but also serving with the Canadian Reserve Cyclist Company, so training junior soldiers to go over to France. And of course, I imagine that he was probably held in quite high esteem, given that he was the first cyclist soldier to receive a gallantry award. So I imagine that his advice to young soldiers was probably taken quite seriously. Dunham returned to Canada and left the military in Regina on the 13th of February, 1919, and he remained in Saskatchewan, where he farmed a ranch which he owned until his death in 1965. So why did he receive this award? Well, for a few reasons. One, at the time, Imperial Russia were some of our closest allies. And indeed, they were responsible for having the sort of Eastern Front open against, what we would again call today the Germany or the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So the citation for his award, I think, is really emotive and indicative of the role of the cyclist. And I think you can see the connection between what they were doing and the intelligence function in a very tactile sense. So, His Imperial Majesty the Emperor of Russia has been graciously pleased to confer with the approval of His Majesty the King the undermentioned award for gallantry and distinguished conduct in the field, the Medal of St. George, third class, for excellent and prompt reconnaissance under rifle and shell fire in front of Wiltje, which is in Belgium, on the 25th of April, 1915, during our counterattack. He went time after time forward to the firing line with orders and to obtain reports and information with regards to the disposition of both our troops and the location of the enemy. So you have to put yourself in the context of the time, and of course, he wasn't working on some sort of digitized process. he was going out and physically retrieving the information and bringing it back, literally, to the divisional commander, again, because this was the divisional level troops, and his job. I'm sure there were probably some middlemen who were quick to parse down the information from Private Dunham and be the ones to bring it to the general officer commanding. But my point is, he was intrinsically linked to that, what we would call, I guess, the intelligence cycle today.